Hi, my name is Mike Williams, and this is the Max Loves Midland Show.
Welcome back to another episode of the Max Loves Midland Show. I'm Kevin LaDuke, your weekly tour guide, and we are so excited today. Here's someone I've been seeing around for a long, long time, and we're going to talk a little bit about networking as well. But we've got Mike Williams with us today. How's it going today, Mike?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
You might know Mike from Isabella Bank. You might know Mike from seeing him around at Wake Up Midland. You might know Mike from Rotary. You might know Mike from just being out in the community. And I think it's really exciting to be able to have a little bit of a further conversation here with you today. So what role do you play at Isabella Bank?
So my role is the Midland Market President. So there's three components to that. Number one is I'm a commercial loan officer, so I'm responsible for production. I make commercial loans to businesses and work with business owners to make sure that we navigate the banking world for them and help them realize their goals. Number two, I manage a team. I've got another commercial lender, two branch managers. And then third is my community involvement, community engagement. So making sure that we are out volunteering and sponsoring different things within the community as representatives of the Isabella Bank.
And we're going to talk a lot about community today, as we always do here on the Max Loves Midland Show. And you're one of our neighbors here in Center City. So my office at the Midland Area Community Foundation is right there on the circle, and you guys are not too far away, kind of kitty corner across the street there on Saginaw Road. But that's just one branch in the Isabella portfolio, I guess you could say. So where else do you guys have branches at?
So we've got 32 branches total, and we have different regions. But in Midland here, we have two branches. The Circle office, as you mentioned, in South Saginaw. And then we also have North Saginaw office, which is across the street from Midland Hospital, and also next door to Bitt and Baker.
Awesome. And one of those things that really stuck with me when we did our pre-interview and had a little conversation was, you said you love working at Isabella Bank because you like to be involved in community banking. Can you tell me a little bit more about what that means to you?
Yeah, so community banking is every bank operates a little bit differently, and I think that most consumers out there view banking as banking, and there's not a difference. But there's national banks, there's regional banks, and then you have community banks. So Isabella Bank has been in business for 122 years, and our main focus is to serve the communities where we operate. So we want to make sure that we're building relationships with customers. We want to make sure that we are engaged with the community, volunteering our time, volunteering and donating our resources. And that's just a little bit different business model than some other banks who come and just process transactions. They're there, but they're serving the people, but they're not as engaged or involved. One of the things that we talk a lot about in the community is being a resident versus being a citizen. And, a resident just lives there, and a citizen is really highly engaged. And so as a community bank, we want to be engaged with our communities, giving back, being connected. And so to me, there's a difference, and it's that relationship that adds a lot of value.
And it was interesting because we were talking a little bit about what it means to have a community bank, and I have this vivid memory of my grandma walking me into our little hometown bank in Beaverton when I was a kid, and you kind of go in there and you knew everybody's name that was working in there, and you had these personal relationships with each person sitting at, whether they're at the front counter to take care of you or if they were in a room to help you open up a loan or a savings account, whatever it was, and going in there with a little bit of money and learning a little bit about that. And it's almost like a rite of passage in a weird way. And then even from that little small community bank and you just being in the banking industry, you knowing other people that are from my hometown and how they were connected to the bank, and it really just expands on those relationships. And when people know each other and they care for one another, they really pull for one another and they pull for that brand.
Yeah, that makes a big difference. You're going out to dinner, you're at the grocery store, and you're seeing somebody. They're not just the person that's sitting behind a desk that is processing a transaction for you. You probably have kids that go to school together. You might have gone to school together with your banker. You might be playing on the same golf team. You might be going to church together. And so just those continuous connections and just the awareness that a banker has within the community, because they're so engaged with everybody. If somebody has a question or a problem, generally your banker is a connector. They're going to connect you to the right resource. They're going to connect you to the right person. And then it's so awesome that you can share that with a family regardless of the age. You might work with grandma and grandpa. You might work with a young person, a family, and you get a chance to work with their kids. And so you really get to grow up with people. And it's similar to, I think, teaching a little bit that, we joke around, but in Midland, it's not uncommon for you to be in a class and say, oh, well, I remember having your parents or your grandparents were in my class. And so you just really have this sense of family and a sense of community with it.
That's just wonderful. And it's very rare that I find somebody that has, specifically in the banking industry, that has community attached to part of their job roles. And I just think that's super neat. And you mentioned volunteerism, and there's a trade-off there of time. There's a trade-off there of banking resources. So is this something that company-wide Isabella Bank really believes in?
Absolutely. So the bank empowers our employees to be able to give back to their community, to be involved and engaged. So we are fortunate to be able to have the ability to have time in our work schedule, and it's encouraged to be able to get out there. At the same time, we also have strong employees who are passionate about their communities. So we're not twisting their arm to say, hey, you have to volunteer. They want to volunteer, and we are empowering them to do that. And to me, I think that's a critical component to be able to be a community bank is get out there and be connected, be a citizen of your community, and kind of live those values of the organization and having that support of the organization that lets you do that.
And you've got that important location right in Center City, which is, one of our community's oldest business districts, and most important, if you ask me. And for a long time, Center City wasn't getting the love, or at least wasn't feeling it, or maybe we weren't feeling it as citizens. But we're seeing kind of a change in that Center City area now. You have Chef Sergei's Bakery just opened up recently. You have another cocktail lounge that's going to be opening up soon. Brass Cat Tattoo just opened recently, and you're seeing a lot more development there, and it is really coming at the same time as streetscape redevelopment. So they've done a large portion of that streetscape, and then next they'll be focusing on that circle area and figuring out what's going to happen there. And, once city officials come to a conclusion on what that will look like, you'll see work starting in that area as well. What are Isabella Bank's thoughts on streetscape redevelopment in that area?
So we are supportive of that. That's where we are. That's where we live. That's our niche of the community and of graphic location. And so we want to see that thrive and excel. And so as we got started on the first phase of the streetscape, we contributed some dollars to help ensure that project was able to be completed. There's a little bit of controversy around that. Some people think, is that the right place to spend those dollars or to invest those dollars? And to be honest, I think it's been very impactful. When you drive or look down that corridor prior, there was very little foot traffic, very little bike traffic. Some people maybe considered it not to be safe to cross the street because it's a busy area. Today, we have wider sidewalks, and I see a lot more people biking, a lot more people walking. I don't hear any comments about being unsafe crossing the street. And so that's huge, and that drives economic activity along the corridor. And also the businesses that are there. There has been some turnover, but for the most part, all of the businesses are full. We don't have any empty storefronts, and the ones that we do have, there's a planned redevelopment already in the works to fill that space. The other thing I think about is as a city, this is a main artery or a main entry point to our city. And so as people are coming in from the south, headed north on South Saginaw there, what are they seeing? What is the feel that they have coming into our city? And I think that we have a strong, vibrant look to the corridor now. And I'm excited for phase 2 to come along in the right time when that's ready. But I think that we're giving a real strong, positive impression when people are coming in, and it sets the tone for what they're going to experience as they drive in deeper into the heart of the city. It's
really interesting, too, and you were just talking about people driving through that area, and I think about that as well and how inviting that area could be. And we don't really have a large business district that is necessarily a pass-through for vehicles in our area other than Center City in that corridor. The mall area exists, but that's more of a highway exit to access that. And if you're not really driving through that to get anywhere, our downtown is not an area you really drive through. You drive near it with those one-ways pairs of Indian and Buttles, and then you go up to Jerome for M20. But Main Street kind of sits a little bit off of where the vehicle traffic is. Fortunately, we've figured out a great way to utilize that space with the pedestrian plaza and the commons, and I just think that is such an innovative way to look at that and flip it on its head to create a gathering space out of an area that doesn't usually see vehicle traffic. But that Saginaw Road corridor, and when you look at the map of Midland, it kind of cuts right through the middle of the town as, triangle, a diamond, however you want to look at Midland. And I just feel like that can be such an important piece to say, hey, this is who we are. So you can invite people into that, and folks feel so fondly of the memories they had of the Circle and, the Circle Bowling Alley, and they had the huge Midland sign, which I think is now at the Historical Museum, and bring back a little bit of that feel of attraction. And it's just been a different energy even pulling into the parking lot at work and just seeing a few more cars in the area, or walking up to the office and seeing them work on Chef Sergey's bakery, and now seeing that open up, and just conversations about, improvements in that area, and maybe people are redoing their fascias or new businesses, and just a really exciting time to kind of work over there.
Yeah, and the other thing I think is worth mentioning is there's resources to help support those businesses as well, through grants or a loan through a facade improvement. And so we recognize the need to continuously invest in that area in order to continue to have that vibrant and energy that you're talking about.
Yeah, and the city of Midland supported that through that facade improvement, and those grants that are out there are already available from Center City, which is just awesome, and looking to see continued improvement in that area. And I think it can really be a hub, especially with more people going to be living there as well. We've got new structures being built, and there's just more humans in that space.
Yeah.
So we're really, really excited about that. And it's nice to talk about the bank's involvement in the community, but I want to talk a little bit about your involvement as well. Can you talk a little bit about some of the organizations you're involved in?
So I like to be engaged in the community. Like I said, I want to be a citizen. I want to be active and participating. So I'm involved with Junior Achievement. I'm involved with the Midland Business Alliance. I'm involved with a Rotary as a service club, and then also involved with various things within my kids' activities. So just continuously looking for ways that I can give back and share some of the things that I have with others, with whatever they're looking for, and however I can add value to that.
I was excited to have you on today, too, because there is something coming up for Rotary pretty soon, and it's something I've attended with my grandpa for many years in a row, and it's just always a fun time. And that's the Rotary Pancake Dinner. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so February 20th, coming up here in a couple weeks. It's Thursday, February 20th. Midland is going to celebrate. Midland Rotary has its 50th Pancake Dinner, and that's going to be at Dow High School in the cafeteria. And then in addition to that, we're gonna serve pancakes, applesauce, milk, sausage, all you can eat, and we'll serve about 2,000 people for this. And so, if people are looking to attend that, it's going to start about 4:30, and it will wrap up about 8 o'clock, 8:30, when the crowd starts dying down a little bit. But all you can eat pancakes, sausage, and we'll serve about 2,000 people. So it's a really great event to help fundraise for Rotary, but also to bring people of the community together. And so if people are interested, you can mark February 20th on the calendar, but then also look for a Rotarian to get tickets. And Rotarians will sell you a ticket, give you a ticket, and you can also get tickets at the door. So it's a good event.
It's kind of funny. Rotary, this Pancake Dinner, it's so huge, and you see so many people when you're there. I was thinking these taglines in my mind. It's one of those only places where you can go see everyone you ever worked for, everyone you ever dated, anyone you ever had a problem with, anyone you ever wanted to hug. It's really a cross section of the community. It's like River Days and the Rotary Pancake Dinner are the two places you could get that in the community year round. And I look forward to this every single year, but we're really going to keep our fingers crossed this year for Mother Nature, so she'll cooperate with us.
Yeah, so the last couple of years we've been fortunate. Every once in a while we'll have a snowstorm that we'll have to reschedule, but hopefully Mother Nature cooperates, and on February 20th we'll be able to get all the community together, and the Rotarians will come and serve you pancakes.
How much planning goes into this? Like, when do you start talking about this?
So there's quite a committee that gets together. There's probably 10 to 15 people that are part of a committee. We start as soon as the first of the year rolls around. This has been going on for 50 years now, so we are almost a well-oiled machine. But there's challenges, there's turnover of people, so you have to kind of grab their knowledge and keep it with you. But we start planning. We're meeting weekly leading up to the event, and then as we get closer, we'll meet a little bit more frequently to kind of zero in and make sure we've got the fine details mapped out. But very thankful for our sponsors who contribute significant to that, the volunteers that put that together, and then the community members that show up to make it happen.
So how many people are serving on that night? You talked about 2,000 pancakes going out, but what does that equate to in terms of what the volunteer time is like for Rotary?
Yeah, so we have 180 members plus or minus in the club, and this is an event that's a major fundraiser for us. And so we want all Rotarians to be there to help volunteer. Most everybody shows up, and they're going to be volunteering in some fashion. And so we have different shifts, or people move around during the night depending on. You might need a little bit more in a certain area, more in a certain different area. Like at the beginning of the event, you're prepping the meat to be cooked. Well, once the meat's all prepped, you don't need to be there anymore. So you move on to a different station. But we have close to 150 Rotarians volunteering during the night.
Like I said, come out and see everyone you've ever met here in Midland. It's a really good time. I look forward to it every single year. And I'm sure you see a lot of people that you know as well, because Midland is home for you now.
Yeah. The Rotarian Pancake Dinner is awesome because you see people that you haven't seen in a while. Like you said, you're running into coworkers, you're running into former employers, and so there's quite a variety there, and it's kind of like a reunion. But yeah, so I feel fortunate to be part of the Midland community. My wife and I moved here in 2002. And so this is the longest that I've lived in a community, and so that feels good. It also makes me feel old. But we've raised our kids here, and so I'm just really excited about the opportunities of being here, and not only just being here, but being able to stay here and have growth opportunities within the community.
So you talked about feeling old, and you talked about raising your kids here. You have a daughter in college now. What was that transition like for you, sending your girl off to school?
So there's some milestones that you reach that you don't expect them to transform you. So obviously when they're infants and they're growing up, there's a lot of changes that's happening pretty quickly, and you adjust. But then when they get older, they're driving, and then they don't need you as much because they're more independent. But they're still there. So when you come home at the end of the day and somebody's not there, you're like, oh, you kind of you miss them. You kind of think, oh, I wish they were here. But you still stay in touch. You're calling, you're texting, and staying connected. And so, not having them live with you is an eye opener that there's just continual change. But they're successful moving on to the next chapter in their life.
Well, it feels like such a transition too. We celebrate our own personal milestones, and having children is one of those personal milestones for us. But then once you're living their milestones, it's like it's got to be amazing.
Yeah, so I'm so excited that my kids have been involved in a lot of things, and so you feel that maybe you're giving up your time of the hobbies that you might want to participate in, but you soak up all your energy into their time, and you're meeting new people, you're getting more connected into the community in other ways, you're developing new friendships, new relationships, and you're celebrating your kids' success and their growth, and so it's a really awesome time.
And so what did their educational journeys look like here in Midland Public Schools?
So when we first moved to town, we bought a house by Midland High, and so we were in the Plymouth School District, and so we went to Plymouth, and then sometime later we moved, and when we moved, we transferred school districts, and so my oldest daughter decided to stay at Plymouth and finish up there, and my younger daughter was in third grade at the time, so she transferred over to Adams Elementary. And then from there, they both followed a similar path, going through Northeast Middle School, then on to Midland High. And one of the things that I think is awesome about Midland Public Schools in our community is that I've heard from so many kids that have gone on to college, and listening to them and talking with their parents, that the first year of college was easy. And so I think that really speaks to the educational level of Midland Public School, is preparing kids for life. Whether you're going to college or you're going to trade school, you are prepared for that next chapter of what you're doing, and you're gonna go out there, and it might be scary, but you're prepared, and that takes one thing off of your plate that allows you to enjoy that moment of, like I said, either college or trade school or whatever it is that you're moving on to the next chapter for.
Well, awesome. Well, we love having you here in Midland, and super excited that you've had your family here and you've had all these experiences here, but you weren't always from Midland, and it took you a little bit of a journey to make your way to Midland. So what did those early years look like for you, and where were you at?
So when I grew up, I was born in West Virginia. I lived in Milford, outside the Detroit area, and then went to Albion College, and then I started working in the banking industry. The banking industry moved me around a little bit, and we landed in Midland in 2002. And coming to Midland was very familiar to me because I had a college roommate that was from Midland. So I knew what I was coming to, and it was a place that I wanted to be. But as a new person coming into town, you don't have any friends. You've got your coworkers, but they're your coworkers, and you have a wide demographic of coworkers. So it's not like you're all going to hang out all the time. So I was fortunate to have a coworker that helped get me immersed into some different things, volunteering, sports, and so through those channels, I gradually met more and more people that I really felt comfortable within Midland, and I start to feel that, hey, this is my place. This is where I belong. And then, now as I'm older and I've been here for a while, I want to share those things with other people as well. Hey, how can I help you get connected to the right group? Whatever you're looking for, it's probably exists here.
Absolutely. And that's, part of why Max Loves Midland exists. When we're going through this community work and we're looking to invite people into it, I didn't think the lever was just to say, like, hey, we're all working on these specific things. It's more, how do we invite people into the work? Well, we get them involved. We, show where events are at. We show stories of people that live here. Can they see themselves in the community and make them feel like they can have a place here? And it feels like you do that organically throughout your work. And, that's just kind of who you are.
Yeah, one of the things I look back and think, boy, how did we ever get to a place? How did we know that there was a party going on? Because we didn't have cell phones or text messaging. And then let alone when you're in a community, how do you know all the things that are going on?
Right.
So I'm so thankful that Max Loves Midland exists, that puts that as a gathering or a central spot that people can go and find out the things that are happening and have it be a resource and communication tool so that it's easy to find and easy to be connected in the community.
I think it's really eye-opening too when we get feedback, and Annie Stout, who checks all our messages on the back end for Max Loves Midland, she'll randomly get messages of people being like, hey, thank you so much because I found this event, and I'll look at that event and I'm like, what is this? And it's like a smaller little event at Creative 360 that's very niche in involvement, and maybe only 2 or 3 people I know would be interested. But when you find your people, that's how you can get involved, and that's how you can connect. And there was an event on there the other day about baby yoga, and one of my best friends growing up messaged me. He's like, hey, thanks for putting that baby yoga event on Max Loves Midland. I said, I don't even know. We get so many event requests. I don't even know what you're talking about. He's like, well, my wife is going to go to baby yoga, and she's really excited about it because she's been looking for something like this. And, they just had a kid, and it's like they're expanding their networks because of it. And those are the wins where you can just connect people, even if it's something super small. So we're happy to be here, and we're just going to be consistent. We're going to keep doing it. And even if it's just 1 or 2 people finding each other, that's what we're looking for. So when you were growing up, I asked you, did you play basketball? And I just assumed because of your height. And, I know you play some recreational ball now, but at the time you didn't. So growing up, what kind of sports did you play?
So when I grew up, I was not a good basketball player. So I ended up joining the wrestling team. And that was a good compliment because I was playing football at the time as well. And then I was also on the track team as a thrower, not as a sprinter. And so, to me, a big portion of my life was all revolved around sports, and I was fortunate enough to go on to Albion, and I was able to play football and track there as well, and weird connections. But being on the track team introduced me to my wife, and we've been together for 28 years now.
That's amazing, and I always joke that this ends up being the sports moment on the show. There always ends up being a little bit of a component, but we always love to do a little bit of a draft on the show. So I asked you to name your top 5 sports moments. So I've got my list here, but in true fashion, the guest has to go first. So I'm just curious, what is your number 1 sports moment?
So I have an unorthodox list, but these are what really stand out in my mind. So I'm going to start with number 5, 1994, Albion College winning the NCAA Division III national championship.
Amazing. So yeah, we'll go 5-1 then. I like that on this one. And so that was what year did you say that?
1994.
Do you remember Albion winning the national championship in 94, or was this more of like a reflection thing where you became like more involved in it later on?
Yeah. So I appreciate you highlighting my age. And so at that particular time for me, I was a senior in high school.
Okay.
And Albion was not on my radar. And so when they won the national championship, that put them on my radar. So a local sports team having tremendous success, and then, having an opportunity to be able to go there and play really highlighted how awesome it was to win a national championship for a local Division III school.
That's amazing. And I have a local one too for my number 5. And the rest of mine are going to be kind of more general and a little bit bigger. But number 5 for me was the 2016 championship by the Great Lakes Loons. I just thought it was really fun to be there with my grandpa. And you don't really get that excited about, a high A team winning a Midwest League championship in this league. But it's just a really good memory to just kind of be in the stands and a day out at the ballpark. And it's a ballpark I'm at, 20, 30 times a year. But how often you get to sit there and watch a championship happen? Or I almost put the All-Star game on here, the home run derby, where, it's like you get to see Vladdy Jr. hitting home runs. Like, that's neat. And that gets to happen in downtown Midland. And it's pretty rare for a community like ours.
Yeah, what an awesome thing that we have here with the Great Lakes Loons, and the talent that has come through the organization. And for them to win that championship is awesome because every year the team that you start with isn't the team you finish with.
Absolutely.
Because they're going to get called up during the season, hopefully, and they're moving on to the next level.
And I look at some of that talent pipeline too, not just the players. I mean, we've had broadcasters here like Chris Vosters, who's went on to work for the Chicago Blackhawks, Brad Golder, who I believe ended up going on to work for the Rangers, and now Chris Mudhank at the helm, who I just think is an incredible leader. He recently received a stewardship award from Midland Young Professionals, MyPros, for his ability to help foster a great environment for talent development, retention for younger people in our community, which we've talked about a little bit. And then having Brad Tunney on the show this year for episode number 2 in season 1, that was just absolutely incredible to hear him talk about being somebody who's sub 30, who manages a radio station, who has a team of other people who are just sub 30. And, so they're doing terrestrial radio in a nonprofit ballpark stadium that is an affiliate of the world champion Dodgers. It's just bizarre. So it's absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
So what do you have for number 4 for me?
All right, number 4, I'm going to go with the 2024 Saginaw Spirit winning the Memorial Cup.
There we go. Similar vein. I like that. Were you on hand that night?
So I was not able to attend the game. However, I was able to go to the parade that they had prior to the games for the kickoff. And what a tremendous energy that brought to the region, but specifically the Saginaw community. And you think that you only get into the tournament because you were the host team, and come to find out they win it all. And what a magical season that was.
It's pretty rare to have a team of that level come through and win that specific tournament. It was just fun to go over there and see some life in that area of Saginaw. My girlfriend used to live over there near the VA and owned a house there, and just being able to see some energy down in that space. And Saginaw is arguably the capital of the Great Lakes Bay region, and it's just good to see some fun vibes over there in Saginaw. And I can safely say that's the only Spirit game I've ever watched on television. So we turned the TV on for that one. Here's one and again, this is one of my first sports memories. And not really memories, but one of the most important ones that stuck out to me at least. And I was a little kid in the Jordan jersey all the time. I'm not a Bulls fan. I'm a diehard Pistons fan. But Michael Jordan has really turned me on to basketball. And I grew up kind of as an only child with my grandparents. And I think Space Jam kind of set the tone for me in terms of, the music you listen to, the clothes you wear, things you listen to, things you're doing. So 1998, Jordan takes his last shot in a Bulls uniform. There was no push-off. People say there's a push-off. There's no push-off. They didn't call it, at least. So Jordan winning that second three-peat is, a big deal that culturally can't be surpassed. It's one of the reasons I tell everyone, LeBron can't be better for me. It's like, I don't care. We all have our personal opinion on this. It's just so important to me sports-wise. So there you go.
There's always going to be a debate of who the greatest was. But in the time, Michael Jordan was such a valuable part of the NBA to attract and draw people in that. And it allowed for such growth that it's the end of an era, and what a tremendous career he had, and did a lot for basketball.
At one time, was the most recognizable face on the planet, I believe, and just becoming a billionaire off the back of that shoe deal with Nike, and being able to be savvy enough to get your own branding on there instead of the check mark all the time. Some of that stuff just can't be undone. And he was pre-social media. I know we probably could have tore him apart in the social media era, but he didn't have to deal with it. So. Yeah. He gets to ride off the backs of being the GOAT. It just is what it is.
Yep. All right, moving on to number 3. So this is an experience that I had as a kid. We didn't get to attend many sporting events. So one year my dad got tickets to a Tigers game, and I don't remember what year it was, maybe 87, 88. And so we go to watch the Tigers and in Old Tiger Stadium. And I was with my mom and dad, my sister, and it was a very memorable game, that just being there. But then to add to it, Lou Whitaker gets up to bat.
Sweet Lou.
And everybody starts chanting, Lou, Lou. My mom looks over and she goes, why are they booing him? And so to attend a game and to know and to follow the Tigers at the time and to be the hometown team, and then to hear a silly question from your mom, it really sticks out in my mind.
Tiger Stadium, what a great place too. I really wish we still had that classic ballpark, and I love Comerica Park, and I try to go opening day each year, and I'm a huge baseball fan, and that's starting to get some memories. Still hasn't seen a World Series, unfortunately. Had a couple chances, but still no World Series victories there even. So hopefully soon enough. But Tiger Stadium, it could be like, we look at Fenway, we look at Wrigley, and it's just unfortunate, but at the same time, love having all those ballparks all those stadiums near each other in downtown Detroit right now, driving that walkability and connection and rebuilding that community. And then also Old Tiger Stadium site becoming the PAL police, or I believe it's the Police Athletic League, or their league down there for for baseball and softball. It's pretty awesome to be able to see that. So my memory is also a Tigers memory, except mine's 2006. It's the Maglio homer. So Maglio knocked one there over the fence. That's a really, really memorable one to help us lift us over the Yankees to get us into that World Series. Unfortunately, we all kind of know what happens. They go 0-4 in it. And then they go 0-4 again in 2012. That one's more sour for me. I had World Series tickets to Game 5, and they got wiped out in 4. I wanted to take my grandpa. So still a goal of mine. I want them to get back to a World Series so I can take my grandpa to a World Series game. So.
Yeah, people talk about the Tigers in the 60s and the Tigers in the 80s winning the World Series, and we've been close, but we just need to cross that hump.
Absolutely. Got to get there. So go for it. What's your number 2?
All right, number 2. So similar, I went with the Loons home opener. So I think it was
2007?
2006, 7.
6 or 7?
When the Loons' very first game that they had, and just what an exciting experience, the energy in the community, from the start of the announcement to the quick construction of the stadium and everything that it took, but the years of success since then that the Loons have brought an energy to downtown, and to have that resource for our community of a town our size, that we're playing high-level baseball. And just the day that it got started, I remember it vividly in my mind.
It's so cool in that first season, too, to have Clayton Kershaw there on that roster, and then for him to be our first major leaguer, and for him to still be an impact player in the majors, unbelievable. He'd be a first ballot Hall of Famer. So.
Yeah, so at the time, you don't appreciate how strong Clayton Kershaw is. But to me, what was exciting about that year is Lance Parrish being the head coach.
Yeah, and he lived at Riverwalk Place in Gladwin, which was awesome for me being from Gladwin County. So we had all these articles coming out in the Gladwin County Record about Lance Parrish living up in the top floor there of Riverwalk Place, and it was just so bizarre. He's living in Gladwin, he's commuting over this way to Midland, and what's cool about that is this ballpark is still such a regional asset. And recently, when I was going through Leadership Midland, one of my site visits was Dow Diamond, a place that I spend a lot of time at. But I even learned more from Mud Hank that day. And I'll talk to Mud as a personal acquaintance friend when I see him out in public or around. But I learned that day that if you look at percentage of population within a county, so I'm sure that majority of people that go to Loons games are from Midland County. But if you look at percentage of the entire county that goes to the game, actually Gladwin County gets a higher percentage of their county coming to Loons games than Midland County does. And that is just awesome and just shows you what kind of asset that is.
What a draw.
What a draw. My number 2, it's a more recent memory. So we're going to go last year. I'm coming off the fresh heartbreak here. We're recording this in mid-January, and the episode will be out pretty quick. Still within the month of January, and we're all a little bit sad about the Lions dropping it here in 2025, which I believe could have been their best opportunity to grab one. And we hope they continue to build and still have momentum. I think they're still going to be relevant for a while. But last year I was lucky enough to be at the divisional game at Ford Field. 2024, that second playoff game against Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Bucks, and my buddy Fetty and I, we had an absolute blast. I never seen anything like that before. I didn't think it was ever going to happen. So even to get to the NFC Championship game last year was absolutely amazing, and the dream stays alive. I guess we're bugging it out and waiting for next year. So
yeah, the Lions are doing some tremendous things. They've got a fresh look of life there. There's going to be changes with coaches. There's going to be changes with players, but I think they have culture and a mindset that they're going to continue to be tough competitors.
Absolutely. So here it is. This is your number 1.
All right, number 1. So again, a little unconventional, but I'm thinking back to the first day of MGL softball for both of my girls.
Ooh.
So MGL,
Heartfelt.
Midland Girls Softball League, and so surprisingly, my family is mostly introverted, and my kids are no exception. So going out and practicing was a good start, but then opening day and having a crowd of people there, the kids wanted to just hide and sit on the bench, and so you kind of push them out there, and then you look forward 10 years later. And both my daughters are playing at Midland High School. One's now playing down at Wayne State. And so they've really grown as a person. But just thinking back of where that all started at the MGSL opening a day softball.
It's amazing. Where was that one at?
So we played the games at Waterworks Park, which is most commonly referred to as Optimus Park. And there's 4 fields there. And just what tremendous growth of having an opportunity for kids in the community to be involved in such a positive asset building. And so you've got about 200 girls that are participating. And most recently, they've merged with the Little League affiliation. And so they're continuing to see a lot of growth of numbers with the kids coming out and playing.
Awesome. So that's now no longer just softball?
So it is specifically softball at the Waterworks Optimus Fields. But MGSL merged into the Little League affiliation.
Oh, I get what you mean.
Before they were independent. So come the end of the season, there was nothing to go to. Where meanwhile, Bullitt Creek, Clare, Gladwin, Beaverton, they're all moving on to the Little League Championship, competing for the state of Michigan title, and we're on the sideline. Well, we can play in a tournament game with them, but our season's over. So we coordinated with the local Little League, and they granted us the authority to be able to form a girls' team and have softball with the Little League affiliation. And so this coming up season will be the first year for that, but creates some new excitement for the girls softball league.
That's awesome. It's a pretty universal experience in Midland too to head over there and watch a softball game every now and then. Even for myself, being from out of town without kids, a lot of my friends have children and their girls have played over there, and you end up over there once or twice a year, and it's just one of those specific places in town that everyone kind of knows and kind of has a little bit of a connection to. So that's awesome.
Right.
So for me, if I talked about Jordan's last shot in 1998 and that 96 or 98 Bulls being a huge formative piece, well, for me a few years later, being almost a teenager at the time, 2004 Pistons winning the NBA championship in 5 games. My grandpa and I popped with one of those fake Welch's champagne bottles at my house, and I don't think I slept all night. I just watched SportsCenter all night, taking notes, and then it was like the very next day I just wanted to go buy Sports Illustrated or whatever I could spend my allowance on, because it was just such a big moment. And then just to see all that energy around the Pistons, and now to be a big Pistons fan still and see a little bit of energy come back, I think there's work to be done to invite some younger fans back into the fold, because they haven't had those experiences at all. And if you didn't see that one, if you're really any younger than about 32, 31, 30, you probably don't remember a winning Pistons team. So at this point in time, it's about time to get them back on the roll. But for me, that was the one that pounded it home to kind of really continue forming who I was and things I was into, and continue playing basketball and continue looking up to those guys. So
yeah, I think that the Pistons team at that time, really like the Lions team, and unified the state, unified the community. You can't help but get behind them. I mean, it's just punch the clock, go to work, come home, and they had that tough defensive mentality, and a lot of success. Glad they were able to win the championship, and not just win it, but dominate.
Yeah, absolutely. And and I think you dominated this interview too. So I know you said you came into this and you said you were a little bit nervous and you're kind of an introvert. So I just want you to talk a little bit about what this experience is like for you to be able to sit down in front of a microphone, or how does it feel for you, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah. So I think that in life you're going to be thrown or asked to do some things that maybe you're not prepared for. And so one of the things that if I'm ever talking to anybody, I'll always tell them practice. When you're on the sports team, you're practicing and you're preparing for the game, or you're preparing for something, but you don't just show up to the game and play. So that practice really matters, and it helps develop and hone your skills. And who knows when you're going to need them, if you're ever going to need them. And so, there's been many a times that you sit on the bench thinking, why am I doing this? But, when you get the opportunity to be in the game, you want to be prepared. And so, similarly in the workforce, you're going to be asked to do some things that you might not be ready for, or you might not be the most comfortable with. But I would say put yourself out there, practice, give yourself the opportunity to learn and grow and continue to develop. And when that time comes when you get to be put in, you're not going to question yourself if you're ready or not. You're going to know that you're ready because you spent all that time practicing for it.
Absolutely. And as always, we always ask one final question here on the show. And when you look forward at the future of our community, which we've talked a lot about today, what are your dreams for Midland moving forward?
So I love Midland. And like I said, I knew what community I was getting into when I moved here, and it's a place that I wanted to be. And so I want Midland to have that same attraction and energy, not just tomorrow, but 50, 60, 100 years into the future. And I don't think that we can take it for granted that that's naturally going to happen. The things that attracted and drew people to Midland 50 or 100 years ago are different today. And so one of the companies that I've worked with in the past has made a nice analogy, and I'm going to steal it from them, and it's innovate or evaporate. And so, change can be hard, but I think that we need to prepare ourselves for the future of whatever that might be, and that we're intentional about trying to attract people. And attract people isn't necessarily one specific demographic, but being a welcoming community, attracting people, providing opportunities for them to grow and develop. I also think we have to take care of the people that have built our community. And so we want to make sure that our community is still relevant and welcoming to those people, and that there's activities and resources that help, kind of complement the full quality of life. So, these things don't happen on their own. It takes some work from a group of people, many groups of people, to have the vision and collaboration of bringing people together. And so, I'm excited about the efforts that people put in to make our city what it is and continue to grow our city as we go to the future. I think that you can see the work that has been put in from the demographic studies that Midland has been pretty stable with their population while other cities around us have declined in population. And so keeping that momentum and continuing that momentum as we move forward to make Midland a place where people want to be.
And when we diagnose that community vision statement, the last part of it is an exceptional place where everyone thrives. So if you're looking to build a community where everyone can thrive, you need diversification of thought, diversification of events, and you need ways for people to get together. And one of those is coming up really soon. We talked on it earlier here in the conversation, but let these people know, how can they get involved and go to the Pancake Dinner again?
Yep. So February 20th from 4:30 until 8 about. We're not kicking people out, but it will wind down about then at Dow High School. But get together with a Rotarian, find one. They're on Facebook, they're on Instagram. If you can't find one, come to the door of Dow High School, and we have tickets available there. But if you haven't been before, come out, check it out, see what it's like. I guarantee you're going to run into people you know. And so you will come in thinking, I'm just here for a pancake dinner. It can't be that special. The Rotary Pancake Dinner is something special. Will be 2,000 people that come through during the night. And it's just, Rotarians are going to serve you. It's going to be a great time.
Awesome. I've had a great time here today, and thank you so much for being on the show, Mike. We really appreciate it.
Thanks again, Kevin.
And thank you guys for watching today, too, or listening, or however you're consuming this media. We really appreciate you coming along for the ride today. As always, thank you to J&C Media for holding it down for us here in the Ashman Plaza. Thousands of events on maxwellsmidland.com. Go there, check them out. If you want to learn a little bit more about the community vision statement I was talking about, dig into the website and really get involved in this work. If the only thing you ever do is listen to this episode and go to one event, this show has been a success, and this initiative has been a success. So we appreciate you guys being along for the ride, and we're looking for another great year of content from Maxwell's Midland. Subscribe wherever you consume media. Maxwell's Midland is your entertainment, resources, and collective improvement hub for Midland County. Plan your next adventure in Midland at maxwellsmidland.com.